No one is actually ready to be a dad, but no one tells you that that's okay. We prepare for jobs, we prepare for weddings, but when it comes to fatherhood, most of us just walk in blind and hope we figure it out. I wish someone had told me that the anxiety, the doubt, the chaos, that's all normal. If you walk into fatherhood expecting to get it perfect, you're gonna feel like a failure every day. But if you walk in with the right mindset, you could be the rock your family needs, even on your worst days. I'm Andrew Russell, founder of DadderUp, and I'm on a mission to promote and celebrate what it means to be a dad. When you first bring your child home, and you typically bring them home in the car seat, right? You bring them out of the car seat, you bring them into your house, wherever you live, put them on the ground, and they're just like sitting there and looking at you with the big eyes like, "What's up, broski? What happens now?" And I just remember at that moment, it's like, oh, well, what happens now, right? There's so many emotions. There's no nurses there. Of course, there could be family, and there's all sorts of things that could potentially, that could play out in a lot of different ways. But typically, if you just go home with your partner and now you have a kid, it's like, well, what do we do now? Are we prepared? Are we going to make a mistake? Are we going to just repeat history and do the same things that our parents did? Blah, 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 right? And these are all some of the thoughts. So, wouldn't have been great for me if someone just told me, "Hey, Andrew, listen, you're not going to be perfect. You're not supposed to be perfect, because guess what? It's a journey for you. It's a journey for the kids, and that's what makes it beautiful. But it's all going to work out." I would have loved to have known that. It's all going to work out. And that's even my story, having my first and then my second. They come home, you plop them down. By the second, you're basically a seasoned veteran. It's all going to work out. If you're a step parent, we call it in DadderUp a flex dad. If you're a flex dad, it's all going to work out, right? You're going to get to know your stepkids, build that relationship. We call them flexies, right? Depending on how old they are. They could be a mini, could be a junior, could be a legend, depends on their age, but you get to know them. And it's difficult. Being a flex dad is a very, very, very difficult thing. Being a step parent is very difficult. It's not your biological kid, they're either adoptive or a stepchild or a foster child. It's a very difficult situation. And wouldn't it be nice to know if you had like the little, call it like little Andrews on your shoulder. And it's like, you know what? It's going to work out. It doesn't happen in just one moment. You don't just like put in the work, do the thing, and then all the imperfect moments. It's all the work you're going to put into it. But I can assure you, it would have been nice to have known and just kind of get out of my own head that you got this. It's all going to work out. But of course, what does that mean it's going to work out, right? Because I get all the time, "Hey, Andrew, my job is X, Y, and Z. I'm nervous because I didn't have a dad growing up. I'm probably going to drop the ball. I don't make enough money," or "my spouse isn't around as much," or "I didn't do that good in school, so they're going to eventually get to a point where they're going to need my help, and I'm just going to really drop the ball." Look, these doubts are normal, but fatherhood, it's not about perfection. If it was, I raise my hand, I'm guilty. I would be, kicked off the team. I could tell you all the best dads in the world. If you ever spoke to them, they all had their moments, right? What are the best talks, right? When the guys get around and like, "Oh my God, let me tell you what happened with my daughter. I was holding her and I was with my family, and all of a sudden, I think she was probably like 9-ish months. I feel like this warm, gooey, whatever." And I'm like, "That's so weird. What could that be?" And she pooped up. I don't know how kids do this, by the way. They poop up the diaper. It gets like this nice 1-inch coating, which is horrific, but I don't know how they do that, but I digress. I'm telling you, that did happen to me. I didn't know what to do. I freaked out. I went outside. I put Gabby, actually, my youngest, I put her in the grass. Thank God it was a warm day. And she's sitting there, and I'm just like, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out. I finally realized, like, hey, I'm going to have to just get a towel, pick her up. I brought her to the bathtub, and I totally cleaned her. It was a bit of a mess, cleaned it up. But my point is, I freaked out. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't perfect. And I'm still not perfect now. I'm not sitting here, the founder of DadderUp, telling you that I'm the man, that I'm in the know. I can just tell you that I care to work on it for myself every single day, to work with dads, to coach them, to be there in it with them so they can improve their craft. But man, none of us are perfect. You're not supposed to be Superman, right? I know it's like the DadderUp thing, but you're not instantly Superman. And if you're not, you're a failure. Where you're a failure is if you stop trying and you stop caring. I'm going to repeat myself. Where you're a failure to me is if you stop trying and if you stop caring. If you wake up every single day, and amongst all the other stuff going on in your life, right? You got to have a life for yourself. You got to have, work on yourself from a health perspective, your spirituality, your business, if you're in a relationship, whatever it is. Where you're a failure is when you stop trying, right? Every single day you should be working on all your crafts, but specifically being a dad, you don't want to just wing it. We don't wing business. We don't wing weight loss. We don't wing going to the gym, spirituality. Like there's things you do, right? Things you study. So it's the same thing with being a dad. You don't have to be Superman, as the symbol alludes to. Like, I'm not Superman. I've made all the mistakes in the world as well, like most dads do. It's not about being perfect. It's about being perfectly imperfect, right? Just understanding and accepting that There's no book, there's no cheat code. I've created DadderUp, which is a movement to help dads, but this still doesn't mean that we're not gonna, nail it every single time. There's plenty of opportunities of something you could have done wrong, or a learning experience, or a learning moment as a dad. So just make sure you understand it is going to work out, and it's okay to have all these doubts. It's called being human. Just because you become a parent doesn't mean you lose the human hat or the opportunity to have the typical human emotions, the doubts, the fears. But as long as you're all in into the side of the fence that cares about being a present, intentional, awesome dad, it's okay to make mistakes, because everything in life, there's always a learning opportunity, but that's the win. Caring about your kids and working on it every single day, that's the win, not being perfect. All right, guys, so here are the 5 things that I wish I knew in that specific moment. Remember that Crystal Isle moment? My mentor told me, I brought home my oldest daughter. She's sitting there in the car seat, looking back at me, these big, gorgeous, beautiful eyes. I'm like, oh my God, in my head, what do I do now? I gotta be perfect, I'm gonna make mistakes, blah, 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 right? So here are the 5 things that I wish I knew at that moment. The first thing is, you don't have to know everything. You're not going to know everything, but you have to be willing to learn. Now, if I think about my journey from first child to second child to now, what are the things that, I got new wrinkles in my brain? What are the things I didn't know how to do? Number 1, to know how to change a diaper. I got big mitts, right? It's very difficult for me. I am a boy, right? I have, certain tendencies of maybe not cleaning up after myself enough or whatever. And here I am with a girl, and I'm gonna try to, raise her in a way that's, feminine. So like, I learned the art of being a girl dad. So because I cared so much, and because I wanted to be as best as I could be, knowing I'm probably gonna make a lot of mistakes and take a lot of deep breaths, I obsessed, right? I almost obsessed at that moment of what would it look like if I was a great girl dad? What would that look like? And that's something that I tried to work on every single day. Some of the things that I learned, again, changing a diaper, it's just very difficult for me. I have really big mitts, really difficult for me to change diapers. So with that said, it was just something I needed a lot of practice. Obviously, their mom, for whatever reason, could do it lickety split. That whole like burrito thing, when you bring a kid home from a hospital and you like swaddle them up and turn them into a burrito. I don't know how people do that. I was not very good at it. So like my burrito was horrific looking, where like the average person's was a lot better. So I had to learn that naturally. Then there's always patience, right? For whatever reason, I have tons of patience with kids and with toddlers. So I was good there. There are some parents that don't have a lot of patience for whatever reason, and it's one of those things. It's when the kid's crying and it's difficult and you had the rough day, it's like, how do you remove yourself from that moment and not take it to heart? Or, just not do something that you're going to regret, or just make a bad parenting decision. So I learned the deep breath strategy as well. Deep breaths, I find myself in certain moments, find yourself getting triggered. Why are you getting triggered? You're just getting triggered because the situation is, listen, when you're a parent and it's just on you, it's high anxiety and it provokes, a lot of fears and concerns. So sometimes you get a little overwhelmed. So I learned deep breathing. That when I was learning, since I was willing to learn, and I didn't know everything, the deep breathing throughout that process, the deep, yummy breaths. I saw some Andrew Huberman stuff where you take like a deep breath, and you take another one, and you let it out. It actually really helped me in those moments. If I would have known that a little bit faster, it probably would have alleviated some of the anxiety. But here I am telling you guys, without a doubt, you're not going to know everything. As long as you're willing to learn and work on it every single day as much as you can. And throughout the process, if you feel your anxiety coming up, taking those deep breaths, it really helps. All right, guys, before I get into the second one, make sure you go in the description, click the link, and I want you to download our 30-day DDS. What's a DDS? So I started DadderUp. It's a community that redefines what it means to be an intentional, present father in this society. Within the DadderUp community, when you're a member and you're a dadder, part of the community, you actually get a 30-day DDS, which is basically a daily prompt on what you should do depending on your kid's age. We have a lot of different dynamics there. It's super cool. It tells you exactly what to do. And it's not about the day-to-day. I'm sure you could figure it out, right? I'm sure you could chat GPT cool things to do with your kids. It's about not having to think about it. The days where you don't and you kind of drop the ball and you could have done something with your kids. It wouldn't have been cool if you had a prompt or a text to do something and you didn't miss that day with your kids. Because guess what? My oldest daughter is turning 10 next year. I can't go back to when she was 2 or 3. And I did a great job being present. I wasn't flawless. I'm not sitting here on a mountain telling you I'm the best. Would have been really cool if I had this, which is why I created it. But we actually have it free for you right now. So go in the description and click the link. We have our free 30-day DDS on things that we feel that dadders wish they knew, to take away all the doubt, all the anxiety. So you don't even have to join the community. Go in the description, click the link, and get our free 30-day Daily Dadder Success for things typical dads wished they knew. The second thing I wished I knew a little bit earlier was your relationship with your child's parent, it's going to change. You have to work on your communication. So, depending on how many kids you are, just give you an analogy. You always try to do being a parent is similar to being a football coach, right? So you have one kid, you have two kids, here comes the third kid. So guess what? You go from man to man to zone defense, right? That's a thing. You can't just like organically just do it. There has to be communication. There has to be a strategy. So what I realized is you have to have active communication. You can't just like get in there, put on the dad hat or the DadderUp suit and just slay it as a dad. There's another partner there. There's a lot of dynamics going on. Maybe you guys don't agree on certain things. Maybe on the food stuff you don't agree, or the milk stuff, or the sleep time, or the swaddle. There's just a lot of stuff. It's not, it's not the biggest deal in the world until you don't communicate, and then it's a huge deal. So communication with your partner as it relates to your child, whether it's your stepchild or your biological child or a new child or anything of the sort, it's everything. And sometimes, you kind of just like, especially when you're a guy, you're like, I'll just figure it out. Not that you're going to wing it, but you wake up, you do the thing, you go to work, you help out as a parent, you come home. Oftentimes entrepreneurs with a new child, they come home, they take on the burden of the child and let the other parent, if the other parent was blessed enough to be home, rest. But communication is key. Sometimes when you're so in it, you got to almost like remove yourself, right? Forest from the trees analogy. So the second thing I wish I would have learned a little bit earlier, but I did learn it nonetheless, is that communication with your partner as it relates to raising your child, your stepchild, your adoptive, your foster child, it's super important. And it's something that you should really focus on. The third thing is sleep deprivation is real. I repeat, sleep deprivation is a real thing. So I remember, there's something about waking up multiple times in a night when you're in deep sleep. There's probably the science behind it, right? Your REM and your deep sleep, you wake up and then you get like this golf ball. So I have permanently since 2016, I've had a golf ball between my eyes. But it's a real thing, so sleep deprivation, right? If you don't sleep for a day or so, I think you're considered, or 2 days, legally insane. That didn't come from nowhere. There's something about the brain naturally, I don't have to get into the science behind it, where you do need that sleep, that REM sleep, even for yourself as a human, being the caretaker. If you're not good, they're not going to be good. So just understand, your sleep, it's a thing, it's needed. You have to have conversations with the partner. There has to be turns. One person, there's only so much you could tough out not sleeping. I remember, especially with my kids, all the things we got from Bye Bye Baby. I don't even know what stores are open anymore. You never know, right? We had the Momaroo, the Dunkaroo, the Swingaroo, the Rock and Play, the Pack and Play, all the plays, all the roos. But I just remember the sounds and, all that stuff. And I got really good at, when it was time to sleep, shutting my eyes, and I just was like out. But I know specifically the thing that really helped me is for me to take the proverbial nap, believe it or not. So I got great at napping. So I would implore you guys that if you're going through sleep deprivation, find the moments for naps. I've found people sometimes get a little stubborn, right? Parents get a little stubborn, like, oh, my kid finally fell asleep. I probably have like an hour, hour and a half. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You have to prioritize sleep, because at the end of the day, we're all human. And without the sleep, the machines don't work at their best capacity, right? And unfortunately or fortunately, it's now your job to take care of that human. So not only do I want you guys to recognize how important sleep is, I just want to make sure you understand when you have those moments, if you ever took any advice, just shut your eyes, try to take a quick nap with them, because at the end of the day, you're like, well, I'm not a napper. Guess what? I wasn't a napper at all. And I could tell you that I became a 15-minute napper. And those 15-minute naps, it felt like I slept for 12 hours like a bear, because at the end of the day, the sleep is a very important thing, because we always, as parents, like, you put your kid first, right? But sometimes you have to put yourself first. You're not going to run at an optimal, dadding, if you want to call it that, without your sleep being at an adequate level. I think the days of 10, 12 hours are probably over, dads, especially when you have kids. For me, I don't know how I used to stay up till 12, 1, 2 o'clock, get up early, college football, you're out with your friends some of the nights. Like now it's like, I totally understand my parents and the hours that they went to bed specifically. Make sure, though, when those small little optimal windows open up for a nap, if you ever listen to anything I said, take the nap. The fourth piece is your instincts, they're going to kick in, but give yourself grace to allow them to kick in. It takes time. It's like reps, right? You don't just go to the gym and all of a sudden you're able to lift certain weights. You have to build and then get some muscle memory. It's the same thing with being a dad. As long as, if you remember, we talked about, as long as you care and you put in the reps and you learn every single day, it will kick in, but it does take time. I've talked to so many dads like, hey, Andrew, I don't get it. My kid's now been home a month and it's just not where I want it to be for myself being a dad. And that's great. So I say, so Does it matter to you? Do you care? And they're like, of course. Like, are you insulting me? Of course I care. Like, listen, it will come in time. And every time I've spoken to them, the more reps you take, some people, it's like they innate can be, what you would consider the best version of themselves as a dad right away. Some people, it does take time. It's embarrassing, but I'm also like an OCD, quality. I want them to look really good type dad. So I'd rather defer to their mom or defer to, other people that were good at it. Because when I did it, I felt embarrassed. I thought they looked horrible. And I was very frustrated over the years that, like, why am I so stressed out about doing their hair? So it turns out it's actually not that hard, but I just needed a lot of practice. And I wasn't giving myself the practice, and I was just really hard on myself. But I could tell you that my initial instinct was, this isn't for me. I'm not good at this. I'm going to be a great girl dad. I'm going to get them their car when they need it at 16, pay for their college, provide a nice house, and food on the table. But otherwise, like, all this other stuff is just not for me. And now those instincts for me, if I'm falling on the sword, didn't kick in for a hot minute, right? I could pay for the clothes to dress them up, but could I dress them up myself, right? Could I put them in a cool outfit? And like, I have beautiful little girls. So I didn't want to like deflate that for them or embarrass them or make them feel over time like, look at all those pictures when we were dad and look at how jacked up my hair was. But I can tell you that my dad instincts, some things kicked in really quick, which is cool, but some things took a lot of time. So give yourself the grace, allow it to finally kick in. Because eventually, guys, it will. And the last one, the fifth one, probably the most important one. If you remember anything from this video, remember this one. You're not always going to feel like a great dad. That's right. You're not always going to feel like you won, like you're winning the dad game, right? As a dadder, there are times you're going to feel like you failed, but that's okay. Keep going, right? There's all the business, hype up, convos and posters, right? It's not about how many times you failed and got knocked down. It's when you stop getting up, right? The actual fail is when you don't get up. Same thing as being a dad. You're going to fail and fail. And this isn't all you do. You don't wake up and then you fail 24/7. But there are things where you look back. I'm sure if you're listening and you have kids, you're about to have kids. But if you have kids, I'm sure there's like, well, I wish I didn't do that. That was a fail. My fails. I mean, you got to wake up your kids at a certain time for school, right? But, when you own a business and you're an entrepreneur, sometimes I love deep work. And I do it great in the morning. Sometimes I get carried away with it. And during the day, things happen. I get taken off task. I do social media, YouTube videos about DadderUp and being an amazing dad. But, I do some of the work in the morning. And then I realize, oh my God, I didn't wake my daughters up for school. And then we're late. And then they're late. And then they're like, oh my God, I'm late to band or late to flute class. And I feel bad. And as a dad, you kind of talk around it. But it's a fail, And I'm not saying that it's okay. But, it happens, right? Sometimes, like, listen, I think we all know fast food is probably not the rage. But, I'm guilty. I'm sure maybe someone watching, maybe a couple watching are guilty of, man, I had a rough day. Don't have time to go food shopping. Not trying to, do all that with everything going on. And then getting them into the showers. And God forbid you have a dog, right? So what do? You get them fast food because what is it? It's fast, super simple. So I feel like a failure. I just remember growing up when McDonald's became the thing. You play a baseball game, you eat McDonald's. I don't know if that was the most healthy, right? Double cheeseburgers when your kid's not even 10 years old. Man, I had them. It's delicious. I'm not sure it's the most healthy. So, to me, that's a fail. I could have been more prepared. So I've realized a lot of my fails are around just being unprepared. So I've tried to do a better job with preemptively preparing for the time that I have with them or the different things so I don't fail. But unfortunately, we're not going to bat 1,000. If you bat 1,000 in baseball, it's impossible, right? I think in baseball, if you bat 400, you're a cajillionaire. I'm not going to say as a dad you want to bat 400, that out of 10 dad things, 6 of them you failed at. But I will tell you that it's okay. It's about progress, not perfection, being a great dad. The win is when you have that L, when you take the L, as my kids would say, and you do the thing wrong, you do the fast food, or you kind of maybe you raise your voice because you didn't have patience at that time, which, maybe we shouldn't be doing, or they are late to school, or you forgot, like, believe it or not, this morning, my old daughter can attest to this, there's book fair at school, and I had the money, it's in my pocket. They didn't have the money. What a fail. When you have those moments that you care enough, the win is that you care enough to take a step back and learn, what could I have done better? I could have put their money in a plastic bag or a Ziploc bag and put it in their backpack. Why didn't I do that? Probably because this morning I was doing something for work on my laptop, right? So I couldn't have been better prepared. So to me, sometimes we take the L as dads, but the real win around it all, maybe you lost the battle, but you win the war ultimately in the dadding space when you care enough that you don't just stay on the ground, oh, that's it. See, I failed. It's not about the failure. So what are you going to do to correct it the next time? All right, guys, but before you sign off, make sure you go in the description and click the link. Get our free 30-day daily dad success in DadderUp in our amazing community that's redefining what it means to be a present intentional father, where we celebrate our dad flexes. We have a 30-day daily dad success where we tell you exactly what to do every single day. It's not about, oh my God, I don't need to be told every single day. It's about the time that you forgot, right? If a couple times during the month we help you, you're getting back that time with your kids and those special moments that, I hate to break it to you, aren't there in perpetuity and forever. So what we have for you right now in the description, click the link, you get a free 30-day daily dad success, our guide. We're actually gonna give you a 30-day. So if you're a dad and there are some things you wish you would have known, we actually are putting it right there. All the things that we wished as dads, we wish we would have known back then. So make sure you go in the description, click the link in our free 30-day. So these were all the things that when I became a new dad, these are some of the things that I wish I would have known. Those 5 things, if I would have known them, they either would have moved the needle a lot faster, or at least my anxiety as a new parent, because I cared so much, would have been a lot less. But make sure you watch our next video. So it's how do you balance work and being a present dad? It's not easy, guys. And there's so many people that have talked about it. Are you there? Do you separate it? Is it organized chaos? Just make sure you watch our next video about balancing being a present parent and crushing it in the workspace.